All right, Buck fans, welcome into a winning edition of the No Quarter Given podcast, four-game losing streak breaking edition of the No Quarter Given podcast. A Bucs 20-6 win over the Tennessee Titans as the Bucs move to 4-5 on the year. Back in first place in the loss column within the NFC South with New Orleans and Atlanta. I'm your host, Jason. Welcome in, Peter Blake.
What's going on, buddy? Yeah, it feels good. I kind of forgot what Victory Monday, Victory Tuesday, Victory Wednesday, Victory Week is all about. But it's nice to be on the winning side again. Yeah, it was a good game, if you will, and the spread was fantastic as always. I had my usual 3 to 4 plates.
There you go, man. What was on the menu this week up in the press box?
Sirloin with some rice and gravy, and then you had breakfast out there, which was nice before then, and some salad. So got everything in the press box, and then you got dessert, of course, at halftime.
There you go. There you go. And even a bonus, you got to meet you and Paul Stewart and TJ all got to hang out post game over at the press box with I know you and Paul Stewart did a fine post game show from on the field.
Yeah.
Our Paul Stewart, buckpower.com founder and creator and all that good stuff. He's in the United States for the next few more days as he got to see the Bucs and Tennessee Titans on the Veterans Day, the Veterans Weekend edition for the game. So I know it was great to hang out for you to hang out with Paul at the game, and then we all got together post game by happenstance. It wasn't even an arranged thing. We all met up at the press, found each other at the press box, had a good little brotherhood, and had a good night.
I love it. I absolutely love those kind of times. It takes me away from like bills and everything like that we talked about off air. I love that. And then we had Brian Ford on the post game show. He actually came on and was talking about fan support and the Glazers and salute to service and the fans. So overall, it was just a great day. Just a great freaking day.
If you don't know who Brian Ford is, Buck fans, he's the president basically of the franchise. He's basically one step below the Glazers. He's the Glazers, appointed guy to run the franchise basically. So he is a pretty important guy, and that's a great get for you guys to get him on the post game show.
Yeah, Chief Operating Officer, they call him, of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, yeah, it was great. And then we had, of course, Uncle TJ Reeves on, giving his TJ recap of the Bucs win.
Yep. Obviously, go to the Nothing But Bucs podcast. That's TJ's post day podcast that he puts out every Monday, recapping the Bucs win or loss with audio and his interviews from the locker room and all that kind of great stuff, and audio from Gene and Dave up in the booth. So, excuse me, I'm a little. My voice is a little cracking. I'm a little under the weather, but I'm going to make it through, Peter Blake.
All right, there you go. Get it done, man. Get it done.
All right. So give me a little perspective of the crowd. What was the crowd like? I know it was kind of the Veterans Day salute to veterans and everything. I know they showed on TV. I was watching the TV copy, and they had the helicopters flying over pregame. Give me a little sense of the crowd.
I mean, the crowd was there. I wasn't. A lot of people were thinking there were going to be a lot of empty, seats, but there wasn't. A lot of Bucs fans there, and then. Mr. Ford even pointed this out on our post-game show. Nobody left during the halftime show because they were doing the salute to service. So everybody was in their seats, standing up, patriotic. It was amazing. And I didn't see many Titan fans at all. I don't think the Titan fans were traveling. I don't think there's any Titan fans down here. So crowd was good. It was very good.
I actually have a buddy of mine that I didn't get to connect with. He's like the main equipment manager for the Titans.
Nice.
The main equipment guy I went to college with up in UAB. So Joey Barranco. So that was shout out to my guy Joey. So but he's been with the Titans at least about 20 years. So he is dialed in with the Titans, and he's a stalwart in that organization on the operations side as far as the equipment side of things. All right, let's get to the game. Again, slow start for the Buccaneers. Tennessee goes right down the field on the first drive, kick a field goal. Will Levis. Remember, no Carlton Davis in the game. He was out with a toe injury. Hint, wink, wink. Who knows? We don't know if that was we don't know what the deal was with that was, but obviously coming off the performance he had in Houston. But give Jamel Dean credit. We'll get to him in a little bit, but he played really well. Buccaneers defensively much, much better, fundamentally sound. That took the offense a little while to get going, but a nice job by that Buccaneer defense early on to keep them in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Got lots of pressure on Will Levis, which is one of our keys to the game to win, of course, because they didn't do that the week before versus CJ Stroud, who threw for once again a rookie record 470 yards. So you weren't sure what to expect out of this game, but you definitely got pressure. You got pressure early from Shaq Barrett, of course, Vita Vea, the usual suspects, and also even Devin White making an
Yep.
appearance on a blitz there with which yeah, I don't understand why you're not doing more of that during the season, but that's neither here nor there. It's good to see that aspect of his game back.
Sounds like the Buccaneers might have had a all defensive kind of a team meeting where they kind of simplified maybe things on defense, maybe agreed to, hey, we're not a very good zone team. Maybe we're going to play a little more man to man. You saw more blitzing out of the Buccaneers. Devin White, to your comment, a little more man to man on the outside with Dean and Zion McCollum and Winfield. Those guys,
Yeah.
they seem to be more comfortable when they're aggressive and they're blitzing than sitting back in those zones.
Yeah, and I heard it wasn't just it was the whole defense, it was all the defensive coaches. It was an organizational thing. Like this was a big deal. It wasn't just, players sitting down. It was like everybody coming
Yep.
together and saying, "You know what? What do we do best?" And that's what it's all about. And maybe, who knows, maybe that saved their season. As crazy as it sounds, I get it. The Titans are not a great team, but it's the National Football League. You've got to win. People would sit here and criticize the Bucs if they lost to the Titans. So a win is a win, and maybe you saved your season because it gets a little bit tougher here next week with the San Francisco 49ers.
The Bucs deliver on defense, 4 sacks with an interception, and very easily could have had a couple more. Levante David dropped one that was pretty normal catch he normally makes. Jamel Dean dropped the ball in the end zone, which was a pretty basic, I thought, deflection should have turned into an interception. But they do come up with 4 sacks and a pick by Winfield, and Winfield's definitely going to the Pro Bowl. There's no doubt this guy's going to the Pro Bowl on defense.
Yeah, I mean that was basically the nail in the coffin, but you were kind of waiting for it all day long, and you just knew it was going to be Winfield Jr. The way he's played all year long, he's played at a top level. He definitely deserves a contract extension. Everybody else, you got to make those interceptions when you have the opportunity. But of course, Jason, that's the reason why they play defense in the first place.
Yeah, usually the DBs don't have the best hands. So, all
Can't.
right, yeah, let's get to the offense. Again, slow start. They moved the ball a little bit, just couldn't put it together. Baker missed a couple throws. We had some drops. We're going to get into Mike Evans and his kind of the drops he had. But the offense gets triggered. They run a first. I can't remember the last time they busted a screen pass for this many yards. Rashad White hits a screen pass, goes 43 yards for a touchdown. Well designed, well blocked, no penalties. Good job there. Your thoughts from the press box when you saw Jamel Dean going down the left sideline?
I mean, you see him pressure in Baker's face. He gets rid of it. And then after that, a great block by Hansey in space, which frees him up. And it was good to see. And again, they seem like they found something with White in space, especially when it comes to the passing game. So that was encouraging to see. We knew that he has that speed. He has that agility.
Good ball catcher, can
Yeah.
catch the ball well out of the backfield.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to do more of that, and they've done that the last couple of weeks. So that was an encouraging sign and a good thing, and it kind of got them the momentum because early it was tough to watch. Baker was having a tough game, the offense was having a tough game, but that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2023. Rough starts, slow starts. Finally, they get it together in the second quarter.
Mayfield ends up with 278 passing, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. He threw a terrible interception early in that game into triple coverage. That's the Baker Mayfield that gets him in big trouble when you try to do. I mean, you can't. And I know it was third and long and end up being like a punt. I get it, but it's still just a terrible decision, and you can't make that decision to be an NFL quarterback.
Makes no sense at all. I don't understand it. A lot of people were calling it a punt, and then the Titans didn't do anything with it. They didn't score any points, but
Not the point. That's not the point.
right. I just didn't understand the decision making. That's what it comes down to. Statistics for the year: 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But some of the ill-advised throws, you got to cut that out because it's going to cost you. It has this year. It's already costed them. It costed them in the Atlanta game. So don't understand the throw. Overall, though, I thought Baker was pretty sharp, pretty good, pretty accurate. Hit some throws, missed some throws there in the third quarter, which could have been game-changing. It really could have.
More offensively, you kick a field goal at the end of the half to go up 10-3, and then you pin Tennessee deep on about the 15-yard line. Bucs have all 3 timeouts, and Todd Bowles lets Tennessee run the clock out. Are you those? I just again rookie quarterback. You're playing well on defense. You got them pinned back, and you have your timeouts. Why do you let the clock? Why do you let them burn a minute 15 seconds? You could have got the ball back with 55 seconds left potentially somewhere around your own 40-yard line. I didn't understand that one bit.
It doesn't make any sense at all. It's his conservative nature, and that's the reason why you have so many question marks with Todd Bowles and this coaching staff in the first place, especially Bowles. This goes back to last year. You know, not having faith in Tom Brady, not having faith in the offense in the last 2 minutes of the game. What? Really? You don't have any faith in the offense? And I get it. You're happy to be up in that game, but you're exactly right. You have the Titans pinned. You have 3 timeouts. Why not use them?
And you stopped them on first down for like a 1-yard gain.
Like, what are we talking about here? This is 2 weeks in a row. So you would think and hope that this would change, but you would say, you know, with history, history's going to repeat itself. And it's very frustrating to talk about because it's an ongoing thing that we continue to go over and over again every week about Todd Bowles and clock management and not using timeouts and being conservative, not being aggressive in those right situations. And that's what it comes down to. Football is a situational game. And in that situation, the Bucs have an opportunity to put more points on the board or at least maybe cause a turnover to give your offense a short field. And yet they don't do anything once again.
All right, let's get to Mike Evans. Evans had a very up and down day. He ends up with 6 catches, 143. If you look at the box score, you think he had a great day. But if you watch the game, listen to it on the radio, he had 2 brutal drops. Obviously, he dropped just a gimme touchdown. You know, you saw the frustration when he went off the field, but yet he makes a couple of great catches on balls. One that was tipped over the middle, he ends up catching, and then he's wide open for a bomb that Baker underthrows him. Then he comes back and makes a diving catch at the 5-yard line. Just your thoughts of what a day for Mike Evans.
I mean, it's been like that all year long, and I kind of asked the question in the post game: is it a year where he's dropping more passes, or are we focusing more on that because of the contract situation? And I think it could be a combination of both, right? I mean, maybe the contract situation is distracting him.
There's no way that's a distraction, bro. When you're in the game, you're not thinking about your contract when you're running a slant route in the end zone and you're wide open.
I don't know. I don't know what's on the man's mind, but I know that he was pretty upset in the offseason. I know there's all kinds of reports out there that he wanted money and he was disappointed. And maybe that's the reason why he's dropping so many passes this year. In fact, I think somebody threw out a statistic that this is like the most drops he's had since his rookie year, something along those lines. So it's not just, you know, my imagination. He is dropping lots of passes.
He's slumping. He's been in a small catching slump.
When we're sitting here and talking about this, what's the thing that changed this year? The contract situation has changed.
It really hasn't. He's getting paid his money. It's not like he's getting paid less money.
But all throughout the years, you don't have this problem besides maybe his rookie year. So what has changed? The contract situation. That is what's changed. And I think it's definitely having an effect on his play. I do.
All right, a couple little roster moves there. We saw when you and I have been talking about this for the last couple of weeks. We didn't want to see any more Keyshawn Vaughn, and he was inactive. Chase Edmonds got the number 2 carries. Sean Tucker looked like was up as well. So I like that move out of the Buccaneers. Give 80% of the carries need to be going to Rachaad White. Give Chase Edmonds 3, 4, 5 carries maybe if things are going well, but Rachaad White needs to be your bell cow.
No, I agree, and I would like to see even less of Chase Edmonds too. I like to see more of Sean Tucker because every time Edmonds gets the ball, he's like Action Traction or Action Jackson. You remember Dexter Jackson? Not the one who won the MVP, the one that got drafted by John Gruden.
From App State, little receiver out of App State.
Yeah, App State. Every time he got the ball, he fell down. That's exactly what it's like to watch Chase Edmonds, and you would be able to find out that information on buckpower.com.
No doubt. That's, all your former Bucs, drafted players, video clips, career stats for Dexter Jackson and everybody else in the Bucs franchise history, buckpower.com. I know Paul Stewart's been in town all week. Guess who he played golf with today?
Steve DeBerg.
Steve DeBerg, the former Parnell Dickinson, the
Yeah.
former Buccaneer as well, but Steve DeBerg, who a lot of us know, still lives in the Tampa Bay area, longtime NFL quarterback, played for the Bucs on 2 or 3 different occasions. But yeah, I know Paul played a little golf with Steve DeBerg this week, so good for Paul. I know today was a nasty day in Tampa. It was a rainy and icky day, but that's kind of Paul's weather in England. He's used to that, those rain and those wind and all that stuff. It was a pretty nasty day on the golf course, I'm sure, today. But any day on the golf course is usually better than a day at the office, right?
Absolutely. I agree with you. I would settle for that than being at the office, which, by the way, I work at home. And then whether it's just making me want to go to sleep and then talking to customers all day long makes me also want to go to sleep and just turn off the computer, probably throw the laptop out the window. But you talk about Steve DeBerg. I remember him from my days of asking questions from the St. Pete Times of how it feels to be the oldest quarterback in the NFL at that point. I believe that was around 93. Was about 14 years old. I remember that. So, yeah,
Remember, he was on the '98 Atlanta team that went to the Super Bowl and then
correct.
losing to Denver and Miami.
Who was the starting quarterback that also played for the Bucs at that
Yeah,
point?
one Chris Chandler.
There
Thank you
you
very
go.
much.
There you go. You traded a #1 pick. What in the 90s? Once again, more information that you can find out on buckpower.com.
Or listen to this podcast. We busted out for you too, baby.
That's it. That's what we do. We're full of it.
All right, so not a lot to talk about in the second half. Pretty ho hum. I won't say run the clock out, but a pretty very Tennessee had no chance to win that game. Once the game got more than double digits, that game was over. There was no Tennessee wasn't scoring twice. Give Jamel Dean credit. He shut down DeAndre Hopkins, held him to like 27 yards receiving. He played really well at corner. We talked about it last week. They were going to throw some jump balls, and they did that. And Jamel Dean did a nice job staying with not committing pass interference. He had a nice deflection in the end zone. Kudos to Jamel Dean for his performance on DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, in my opinion, probably his best game of the season. He really showed up, and that's the reason why you signed him to a contract extension in the first place. And you didn't know what to expect. Once again, it goes back to the Houston game with a bunch of no-name wide receivers with 100 yards. Carlton Davis out, possibly your best corner, and Jamel Dean comes in and does what Dean needs to do, shuts down a DeAndre Hopkins, who, by the way, somebody has to tell him that the scoreboard, the Bucs at the time when he was doing the gravedigger thing in the end zone, the scoreboard was showing Bucs were winning 17-6. So I don't know what he was doing, why he was doing that, but that whole gravedigger thing not working out for you, my friend.
Yeah. All right, so Bucs go to 4-5, 20-6 W over the Tennessee Titans. One more note I want to add is let's give this Buccaneer offensive line some credit for their pass protection. I think all year long, if we're honest, they've been above average in the pass protection department. Not as great in the run game yet, but the pass protection has been pretty solid, I think, from 1 to 5 across that offensive line.
Completely agree. I mean, Tristan Wirfs has definitely transitioned over to most likely the best left tackle in the league. Luke Gedicke's been a pleasant surprise, but I honestly thought, shifting him over to his natural position would help him out. And then everybody else is that interior line, still big time question marks. But overall, that line has done pretty solid job of keeping Baker clean. You look at it, Baker also has had to escape a lot of sacks, so maybe that number, could.
Well, that's part of the job. That's
right.
Part of the job.
Right.
And I think we found a left guard. I think Stinney's going to keep that job over Matt Filer for the time being. He's played pretty well. Again, not that there was a couple of offensive penalties, but a much better job. No pre-snap stuff, false starts, and part of that's a function of being at home. I get it, but much better job by Cody Mock and Gedicke for not jumping off sides. And again, Hainsey's doing a good job there, quarterbacking that offensive line from the center spot.
And then, kudos to the defensive line of shutting down Derrick Henry, because that was a big-time matchup that we looked at. He didn't get over 100 yards, and I didn't even think he got 50 yards. He was no impact in that game for the Titans, which was encouraging to see. Once again, if that's the staple of your defense to stop the running game, you did that last Sunday versus the Tennessee Titans.
And a guy that Todd Bowles has mentioned is going to get more and more playing time, played more and more in this game. Excuse me, and you're going to see him more and more moving forward, and maybe at the expense of JTS, Yaya Diaby.
Yeah, I don't know why it's taken so long, but Yaya Diaby should be stealing reps away from JTS, especially with him sometimes just being invisible on this defense. I like the potential of this kid. You saw Kalijah Cansey cause havoc. This kid is going to be really good. He's just going to get better and better. Like, I'm not just excited about this year, like the remaining part of this year, but next year. His development, you see the film. It's
How
pretty.
about Vita Vea playing defensive end and walking Andre Dillard back into Levis for the sack? What a they showed that on a lot of social media clips around the NFL, and boy, what a job by Vea playing defensive end, basically just bull rushing into that, creating that sack against Will Levis.
Yeah, absolutely. And then how about the time where Baker Mayfield fumbles the ball? Tristan Wirfs picks it
Yeah,
up in the last 2 minutes. He's running with the ball with reckless abandon. And of course, he couldn't advance the ball because it was, 2 minutes in there, so you're not able to do that. But who knows? Maybe they get to an opportunity there where you can run Tristan Wirfs. Boy, he seemed like a natural when he was doing that. Everybody was laughing about that in the press box.
all right, Buck fans, we're gonna take a minute break. We're gonna go to Paul Stewart. God, I'm sorry. With our montage of the San Francisco 49ers. And when we come back, we will give you a little preview of the 49er game on the road in San Francisco on Sunday. So we'll be back in just a couple of minutes after Paul Stewart's BuckPower.com montage of the San Francisco 49ers and Buccaneer rivalry. We'll be back in just a minute. All right, Buck fans, we're back. Hopefully you enjoyed the montage by Paul Stewart, who gave you a little chronicle of the Bucs 49ers rivalry. There's been some great moments over the years with the Bucs, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana. I remember they played here a long time ago, kickoff a year. We've had Steve Young. We played them in a playoff game before, so a lot of history with the 49ers. Bucs go to San Francisco. 49ers came off a bye last week and manhandled and throttled the Jacksonville Jaguars 34-3, in a very impressive performance on the road in Jacksonville. A daunting task for the Buccaneers as they head to San Francisco, Peter Blake.
Yeah, big time daunting task. A team that, look, is the class of the NFC. Either them or the Philadelphia Eagles are the best two teams in this conference. And with that being said, you have Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, Brendan Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, an offensive line that's healthy. They're relatively healthy. So this is a big time challenge for this defense. You hope that this Bucs defense is 100%. And the big time matchup that I'm looking at is that offensive line, especially those tackles, versus the likes of Nick Bosa and Chase Young. I'm looking at you, Tristan Wirfs and Luke Gedeke, who, by the way, is banged up. So if he doesn't...
Got a foot injury. Yep, got a foot injury.
Matt Filer would be at the right tackle spot.
No, he would not. No.
I heard that was
really okay. Well,
Matt Filer. I mean, you said it best. If Matt Filer's there at right tackle, I don't necessarily feel so good in the first place, but now I feel even worse because Chase Young and Nick Bosa are going to be at that side.
I think when you look at this matchup, I think from the Buccaneers' perspective offensively, if you can get some pass protection, the weakness of this 49er team would be the corners. You have to throw the ball down the field to Evans and Godwin, Trey Palmer. You're not going to run the ball much on this, and I know you want to try to establish a run. I get it, but the odds of you running on this defense aren't great. This has got to be a throwing game for Baker Mayfield. A creative passing design by Dave Canales. You got to throw the ball down the field to Evans and Godwin. Try to get some pass interference calls. They're pretty aggressive at corner. They're not great at corner. So to me, I think this is where you have an opportunity to make some hay. It will be deep balls down the field to those guys. And Cade Otton, we didn't see much of him last week. Again, you got to occupy those safeties in order to be able to throw the ball outside to Godwin and Evans.
And that's why it's so important, because it's simplistic to me. That offensive line has to do a good job of giving Baker Mayfield that necessary time so you can find those wide receivers. If not, it could definitely be a long day once again.
And again, get Rachaad White out in the passing game. Again, you're not going to run the ball between the tackles against these guys. It's going to be swing passes, isolate him on the linebackers. Hopefully he can beat Warner. They've got great linebackers. But again, Rashad White's a good player in space, and I think that's the way the Buccaneers are going to be able to score the ball offensively. Defensively, remember last year they got just destroyed by Brock Purdy in his first start. They just got manhandled on all fronts. You heard Todd Bowles in the press conference say, we learned some things that we didn't do worth a flip last year against them. So it'll be some interesting to see what the game plan is, how they come out and attack this 49er offense who got all their weapons back. Debo's back, Ayuk, McCaffrey, Trent Williams, the most elite left tackle in the game. Can Shaq Barrett hold up to Trent Williams? That's going to be an interesting matchup. Or do you put a Diaby out there to try to, Diaby's a physical guy. Do you try to put Diaby out there? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, why not Diaby? Why not see more?
Vita Vea. Maybe you put Vita Vea out wide to occupy Trent Williams.
Marquise Watts, I mean, he got some playing time. He showed some flashes of brilliance. So these kids, they need to start. They need to play because they're producing and they're limited amount of time more than the guys that are starters like, JTS and Nelson, guys like that. You need to get those other guys the starts. And I think it's definitely a point. I mean, Diaby, to me, is going to be the eventual starter of this team.
And you got to turn the ball over here. This has got to be a strip game where you got to create some strips, some fumble situations. They run a lot of crossing routes, so there's opportunity after the catch on these crossing routes to strip the ball out, things like that. So you have to be opportunistic here. You got to be aggressive with the strips and the punch outs. And when he throws you one, you got to catch it. We did that. We didn't do a great job catching the ball last week, but if he throws you a ball that's catchable, you got to intercept the ball through that Buccaneer secondary or Levante David too.
Because if you don't, you give a second opportunity to the 49ers, and they're too good to be given second opportunities.
Yep.
They're just too good. And you got to play nearly a perfect game versus once again, one of the top upper echelon teams. You didn't do that this year versus the Philadelphia Eagles at Raymond James Stadium. In fact, the score looked kind of close, but it was more of a blowout, dominating fashion by the Eagles. Hopefully they get out to a fast start, but I know what this Bucs team is at this point. They don't get off to fast starts. And if they don't do
that's the other part. You can't be down 14-0 with 3 minutes left in the first quarter either. You got to stay in the game.
I feel like I'm watching the USF Bulls every game when I watch the Bucs. They're down 14, and then here they come clawing back, or they get a slow start. It's crazy. Both teams, USF, problems on offense starting off. Defense can't get off the field, can't get starts, although they beat Temple the other day, but they struggled.
Well, the Houston game they scored, it came out firing in Houston. Yeah. Maybe the road scenario gives them a little advantage. Maybe it's a sleepy crowd in San Francisco early. Who knows? Again, maybe with them beating us handily last year and having a convincing win last week, maybe they're overlooking the Buccaneers a little bit. Remember, they got the Eagles coming up. They got some division games coming up. Maybe you catch them sleepwalking for a half and you can jump out 17-7 or something like that. You got to start fast because you can't be down 14-0 first quarter.
Agree.
All right, Peter Blake. One more thing we'll talk about. We'll get your prediction. Your guy, the punt god's got to punt a little better. They got to win the special teams battle. Whether it's a return, field position, two bad pooch punts by your boy, the punt god. Again, he gets a break. He's had a good year, really good year, but you can't be kicking 18-yard, 20-yard punts when you can pin them inside the 10-yard line.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. I don't know if that was by design or
it's what. Technique. It was a bad. I'm watching the game. It's bad drops. It's just. I mean, it's not hard to do. If you're not careful, it's bad. It was just bad punt technique is what, and it creates bad punts. It's a technical thing. Just like throwing the ball, you got to throw the ball a certain way. Your footwork, it's all the same thing. Kicking a ball, your footwork's bad. You're not going to punt the ball very good.
I tell you right now. Hopefully, we're not talking about the punt god,
right?
Because if we are, then that means that offense struggled. So I'd rather not talk about him. But you're exactly right. He didn't have a good game versus the Titans. He's got to be better. All three phases of the game have to play a perfect game versus the 49ers.
And let's run a trick play here, Todd Bowles. Run a fake punt. Be aggressive on fourth down if it's 4th and 1 or 2. This is the game, Todd. You got to utilize the opportunities that you have. Be a little more aggressive here. Run a trick play. Run a double reverse. We ran the revert or the flea flicker against Houston. You mentioned it last week. Evans is wide open on the film. Baker throws it to K-Dot, who's covered. You got it. Throw it to the right guy.
Yep.
All right, give me a prediction, Peter Blake.
You go first.
I'm going 24-23. Chase McLaughlin game winner at the gun.
I'm
He's
not.
been, by the way, he's been tremendous, by the way, for the Buccaneers. McLaughlin kicking the ball. 47-yard field goal at the gun. Buccaneers win 24-23.
I'm not so optimistic as you are. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 31-10, 49.
Okay. All right.
I just haven't seen enough. I like where the Bucs are going, but I think the 49ers are they're just too good at what they're talking. But who knows? Maybe I've been wrong before.
And
So
let's do a quick glance at the schedule. You got 4 division games left, and you got 4 non-division games. You got Jacksonville, San Francisco, Indianapolis at Green Bay. You got to win. You either have to beat Green Bay or Indianapolis. One of those two you have to win, to me.
Yeah, you should
You
win.
have to beat Carolina twice, to me. And you have to at least split with Atlanta and New Orleans. That gets you to 8 wins. Can 8 and 9 wins? But that's a minimum what you have to do to still be in this race. If you lose the 49er game, not the end of the world, but you can't then go lose to Indianapolis. You have to win the Indianapolis or the Green Bay game, if not both, on the road, and then you have to beat Carolina twice. You have to. That's the only pathway I see to a division title for the Buccaneers.
And I certainly think it's possible. And I thought, 10-7 at the beginning of the year.
9-8's going to win that division, bro.
It may absolutely. But
and you get to 9. You got to get to 9.
Carolina's 2. New Orleans, I think it's a winnable game now with Carr out.
That's 3. Atlanta, Green Bay or Indianapolis, that's 4. That's 4. That's 8. I get you to 8. Can you beat the other team? Can you beat Jacksonville? And could you beat it? One of those 3, you got to win.
Jacksonville will be tough, but they're not necessarily playing.
Home game, though. It's a home game.
That's true.
All right, 24-23 for me, 31-10 for San Francisco for Peter. Give the audience a quick update. All your great work. I know you did a post game on the field. Tell everybody where you're going to be with the JB Peterson show and such.
I don't know where we're going to be on Sunday. We may be at the patio. We may not be, but definitely tune in to the Sports Web. Like and follow on YouTube and, of course, on Facebook. And go friend me there at Peter H. Blake. Tune in on Wednesdays, Wednesday mornings from 10 to 12 on the JP Peterson show. And, of course, the evolution of sports talk television.
And if you're in the Tampa Bay market or the Orlando market and you get this on Thursday, i.e. Thursday the 16th, check me out, Spectrum Sports, 10:30 p.m. We're talking Bucs and what the Bucs have to do. Me and Roy Cummings talking what they have to do to win the division. So Spectrum Sports 360, 10:30 p.m. Thursday night in the Tampa Bay and Orlando markets. Powers on Sports podcast, this podcast, Florida Football Insiders podcast for all of our good stuff. Peter Blake, let's make it 2 in a row, my man.
It sounds good to me. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we'll see. We will definitely see.
All right, Buck fans, appreciate you finding us. We will see you next time on the No Quarter Given podcast, part of the BuckPower.com podcast network. Paul Stewart, safe travels back to jolly old England. I don't want to see you on CNN and no plane crash or nothing. Good travels. He's having a fun week in Tampa. We're going to hopefully try to get together before he gets out of town. But again, safe travels back to England. Paul Stewart, thanks for all you do for us. BuckPower.com. Check it out. And Buccaneers, let's make it 2 in a row and get to 500, okay? Let's do it, Bucs. Here we go. See you next time. No Quarter Given podcast.
Go Bucs.